Okay, welcome back. So we've got our pause screen working, well, animating anyway. We don't have any of the buttons working, so let's do that right now. First, let's go into our scripts button. I want to go into my UI folder, and I'm going to create a new script that I'm going to call Pause Manager. So the Pause Manager is going to manage exactly how not only this pause panel behaves, but also what happens when you push the buttons on the pause panel and the pause button itself. We're going to start with the pause panel being inactive, but then when we hit the pause button, we're going to make it active, which is going to cause it to move into the scene. And then when we hit pause again, we're going to make it deactive, which is going to make it move out of the scene. And so that's the first bit of coding that we're going to have to do. Oop, did I not open that script? Okay, well there we go. So there's a few things that we need to have access to first. So let's gain access to using Unity engine.ui. And then we also have to have access to the ability to change scenes. So using Unity engine.scene management. All right, let's make a reference to that panel, and I'm going to reference it just as a game object. So I'm going to say public game object pause panel, and I'll set that in the inspector. I also need to have reference to the board to know what our current state is. So do private board, and I will find the board in my start method, and I'm pretty sure I gave it a tag. Yep, I did. All right, so then in here in the start method, I can say that board is equal to find object. Oh gosh, what is it? Find with tag. There we go. It's game object.find with tag, and the tag I'm looking for is board. Oh, did I do that wrong? I'm so rusty on this. Oh, so I want to get the component of board from that. No. Okay, cool. Now, let's also create a variable for whether or not we're currently paused. So this is going to be a public bool paused equals false to start out. And then let's make a method here to pause the game. So I'm just going to make a quick little public void pause game. And in the pause game method, I'm going to say paused is equal to the opposite of paused. And that means that if it's false, it turns it true, and if it's true, it turns it false. In the update method, I want to go from having the game be active to having the game be paused. And to make it paused, I'm going to activate this pause panel, which means having it come up in the screen. And if I deactivate it, I'm just going to deactivate it. So let's cover that in the update method here. So in the update method, I'm going to check to see if we're currently in the paused state. So if paused, and that pause panel isn't active. Pause panel. Actually, let's do it this way. Not pause panel dot active. Is that not right? Oh, okay. So I should use active in hierarchy. Did I misspell hierarchy? I did. All right, let's see if IntelliSense can do this. Okay, cool. So if we're paused and the pause panel isn't active in hierarchy, then we're going to activate it. So we're going to say pause panel dot set active true. And then I'm going to change the state of the board. So board dot current state is equal to game state dot pause. And then we're going to say if not paused and pause panel dot active in hierarchy. So if we're not paused and the pause panel is still active, then we're going to say pause panel dot set active false and board dot current state is equal to game state dot move. There's a logic issue with this, but I'll cover that in a second. So let's save our script. Let's pop back into Unity. And then on my board object, I'm going to create another child object that I'm just going to call pause manager, because this is where I put all my manager objects, is here. So create empty. I'm going to call this pause manager. Okay, and then I'm going to bring the pause manager script onto it. Now it needs to know what the pause panel is, so I'm going to grab that pause panel, which is this right here, and pull it on. The other thing I'm going to do is in the start method, by default, I'm going to say pause panel dot set active false. So I'm going to make it inactive during the start method. Save my script, pop back into Unity here, and let's hit play. Oh wait, I'm not going to be able to do anything until I turn the fade panel on, and I didn't wire up the button. Mr. Taft. Okay, so let's make this button work the way I want it to. I'm going to grab the settings button, the on click, I'm going to add a new event. That event is going to come from the pause manager object, and I'm going to grab the pause manager script and the pause game. There we go. And let's make the fade panel active so that we can change from our current state to move. So let's let this work. Okay, cool. So if we look at the board, the current state is pause. I'm going to click OK. That goes away. Current state is move. When I hit the pause button, current state is pause. This jumps up, goes away, back to move. There we go. So already our pause screen is working pretty well. Now, I mentioned the logic issue. And the logic issue is we might have hit pause when the game wasn't in the move state. It might have been in a different state. So, like if it was refilling the board or something, like, let's see if I can make that happen. I'm probably going to fast forward until I can see if I can make that happen. So hold on a second. Okay, so I don't know if you saw this or not, but I'm going to flip-flop those and then hit pause. Everything else still goes in the background because it's automatic. However, it turns to move here. So now I can move stuff with the pause panel up. So what I'm going to do is go into my board script really quickly. And I'm going to go to where we reset the method back to move, and that's refill board co. And here I'm going to say if current state is not equal to game state dot pause, then I'll do that move stuff. So let me just indent this. All right. So we're only going to go back to move if the game state isn't pause. That way, in here, back in Unity, if I hit play, just a second. Here we go. Hit OK. make a match, and then hit pause. We're in the pause state, everything refilled, but we're not back in move yet. When I get out of here, it goes back to move, so then now I can move the pieces. So there we go. All right, now let's make those two buttons work. And the easiest one is the exit button. So if we go back to our pause manager script here, and let's make a new void. We're going to call this public void. It needs to be public so that we can access it from the button. I'm going to call this exit game. And the exit game method is just going to do scene manager dot load scene, and the scene we want to load is Splash for me. So I'm going to save that. Let's pop back into Unity here really fast. Let's grab this exit button, add a click event. Again, I'm too impatient. There we go. Click event comes from pause manager, and from pause manager, exit game. So let's play. And this falls in. Okay. Settings, exit game. Cool. So now we just have to deal with that sound. So the main idea behind this is I'm going to use player prefs for this, player preferences, which is what player preferences is supposed to be used for, things like setting sound on or off. So I want to make a reference in my pause manager script to the two different images I have. So public, I want to do image, right? Do I want to do image or do I want to do sprite? I forget when you're working with UI. So the sound button, source image, yeah, okay. Okay, so I want to make a reference to that button, so I'm going to do public button, and I'm just going to call this sound button. And I'm going to make references to the music on and music off images. So public sprite, music on, sprite, and public sprite, music, off, sprite. All right, so the button itself so that I can access its sprite, and then the two sprites I want to change it to depending on where we are with player prefs. So as far as player prefs go, I'm going to make myself a little comment here in case I need to come back to this later. So I'm going to say in player prefs, the sound key is for sound. If sound equals 0, then mute. If sound equals 1, then unmute. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check to see player prefs to see if we already have a key for sound. So if player prefs.has key, and the key I'm looking for is sound, then I'm going to need to check to see what that key is. So if player prefs.getInt sound equals 0, then I want the music off sprite to be the sprite. So sound button dot sprite, is it dot sprite? Image equals music off sprite. Okay. Nope, apparently I can't do it as a sprite. 1 second. Ah, that's why. I need to call the sound button not as a button, but as an image. So public image. A button is just an image with a button script. So, and then this should be sound button dot sprite. There we go. That works the way I thought it should. All right, cool. And then else sound button dot sprite is equal to not music off but music on. And if there is no key, then that means that they haven't declared a preference before, which means we're going to default to it being on. Else sound button dot sprite equals music on sprite. Okay, cool. So this is going to set, based on our preferences. I want to add another really quick method here. So this is going to be a public void sound button. Yeah, we'll do it this way. So if they press the sound button, I'm going to check to see all of this stuff again. So I'm going to grab this, but I'm going to have to reverse some stuff. So I'm just going to copy this if statement with player prefs. So from if player prefs has key down to right before pause panel is set active. I'm going to paste that in here. So if we have sound, if sound is 0, then we're going to make it on, because now sound is 1, because they're like, if the sound was off, the sound is now on. And we're also going to do player prefs dot set int sound 1. And then if they had a sound key, it's not equal to 0, that means it's equal to 1. We're going to set it equal to off sprite because they're changing it from on to off. And then player prefs set int sound to 0. Else they're just turning the music off because it was on, meaning we didn't have a key for it. Player prefs dot set int sound 1. Okay, cool. So I'm going to save this. I'm going to pop back into Unity here. I'm going to grab my sound button as soon as this is done compiling. And then we'll wire this up to the sound manager. Wiring it up to the sound manager is actually really simple. So we're going to grab our pause manager as our object. Pause manager script. What did I call it? Sound button. Okay. And then on the pause manager, it needs to know what the sound button is, and it needs to know the two images we're going to switch between. So in the UI, pause manager, I've got music off and music on. All right, so let's try and see if the images are changing. Okay. All right, and then, yep. Cool. So now it's on right now. So I'm gonna go out of play. Just make sure it's gonna be on when I go back in, because I clicked it like 1,000 times. Okay. Yep. Turn it off, and let's see if it's gonna be off the next time I go in. We might need to add something for player prefs.save, but that's what I'm checking this for right now. Okay, cool. We don't have to do player prefs.save. Nice. Now, okay, sorry about that weird cut. So what I want to do now is take a look at our sound manager and make it so that our changes to the sound button actually affect what we hear in the game itself. So if I go to my scripts, my base game scripts, and open up the sound manager, right, so here we go. We've just got our destroy noise. Play random destroy noise. I'm going to have this make a check really quickly to see what the player prefs sound is set at. So here I'm going to say if playerprefs dot has key sound, and then if playerprefs dot get int sound is equal to 1. So I'm only going to play the sound if we have sound turned on in the game. And I was a little sloppy with my braces here, so let me fix that. So before we play our random destroy noise, we're going to check to see if there's a key for sound. And if playerprefs.getInt sound is equal to 1, then we'll play it, because in our pause manager, we're saying that 0 is mute, 1 is unmute. Now, this will only play if they've already assigned a key, though, if they've already said what their preference is. If they haven't said what their preference is, this key won't exist. So then, if the key doesn't exist, I'm going to assume that they want sound on. So else. And else is going to be just to play the sound. So I'm going to copy this and paste it there. Okay, cool. So let me save this. Let's pop back into Unity. I have my system muted, so I'm going to turn on the sound here. Let's play, and let's see if this works. Okay, and I think the last time I left it with the sound off, so we should be able to tell right away. But let's see. So, okay. Alright, no sound. Turn sound on. And now we have sound. Alright, cool. So let's try that again. Turn sound off. And no sound. Alright, cool. So there's a super simple pause menu. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the comments down below. You can follow me on Twitter to find out when I post a new video. You can join my Discord, where I'm chatting pretty much every day. Otherwise, have yourselves a wonderful day.